From disinformation, we all live for twisted sensations. Kids are safe, but too well behaved to feel never heal with the faith. Go make something real. If what you've always believed and was not considered treason, business will be boomerang. Angels will no mean. Take it or leave it the way you see it is the end result. Angels and demons.
What's up, guys? How's everyone doing today? Oh, World War II buff, nice. What's up, Comfort Doll? What's up, Tim? What's up, Stuck? How are you guys doing today? Douglas, hello. I remember seeing you in a live stream. Welcome, Douglas. Today we're going to be doing some World War II history. So we're going to focus on some war crimes, but not the Holocaust war crimes. Those are extremely way too easy. But there was a lot of stuff that was done aside from what the Nazis did. So. Oh, nice. Glad you. Oh, nice. Well, all right on. You have a great woman there, Douglas. She is awesome, very intelligent, just a great gal. Lucky dog. Lucky dog, you. Johnny D, what's up? All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the panel. Remember, if you're coming up, make sure if you have a crime, it's the one, just not the Holocaust, because those are like too easy. Here you go. We'll open it up here. You want to come on up? Make sure you have a war crime. I have a good one. There's so many to choose from, though. It's just ridiculous. All the crap that happened that, the history books just do not teach you. Then I guess that just goes to show you that it is that the winners are the ones that write the history, and they're not going to talk bad upon themselves. I mean, honestly, that would be stupid. Of course, they're not going to talk bad about themselves. But yeah. Japanese Unit 731. Oh, I never heard about that one. I have to look that one up. Or you can come up with us all about it. What's up, Stuck? I never heard about that one. I have to look that one up.
Hey.
You turn down your TV?
That's what I'm doing. Just give me a split second.
Cool.
Right. There we go. Okay.
Oh, Tim, you're more than welcome to come up, bro. Just make sure you have a war crime from World War II that's not related to the Holocaust, because that is the subject today. So do you have one, Stuck?
So a lot of the research I did, I found a few kind of like a few smaller type listings, nothing in great detail for each one, but there's a bunch of information of different crimes that were committed throughout the world from all parties, from all countries.
Yeah,
and it's hard to pick, just one, So I've got a couple that I can point out to people, and then go from there, right? See what happens.
Okay. Oh, I guess I don't have any time right now.
So much. It's not really a favorite. I'm not a favorite of war crimes,
Yeah. There's so much out there. Yeah. History of Japanese Americans has always bothered me. We never heard about it. Well, that's true, Tim. It's a good one. Basically, it's a special unit that was in China. They would use the Chinese national test, like biological. Oh, that's messed up. That's real messed up. That's messed up. All right, so I'll go ahead and put it up one more time in case anybody wants to come on. Kimmy, you want to come up and tell us about a war crime? Tim, what about you, sir? You want to come up? Stuck, why don't you go ahead and start with yours?
Okay. This isn't Holocaust, but it is involving murder. Okay. Something there. I don't know. There was what I found was kind of intriguing, and there was a submarine called the HMS Torbay from the Royal Navy. Okay. and she was launched in
a
1940.
submarine called the HMS
Pardon?
Torbay from the
Yeah.
Royal
Can you turn
Navy.
down YouTube, please?
Okay?
Yeah, you know this
And
one?
launched
No, no,
on
he's
a submarine
yeah.
called the.
There we go. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, we're good now. Good now.
Sorry, that was
Yeah.
my fault, I think.
Technical difficulties. I know StreamYard's been having difficulties as well last little while. Anyway, this HMS Torbay was launched in April of 1940, and what happened? I mean, she was responsible for a number of sinking of a lot of German ships, but according to what I read here, is that on there's a couple of incidents where the crew attacked and killed dozens of shipwrecked sailors, German sailors, and troops from what they, so they go to sink the ship. There's survivors. They actually attacked and killed the survivors, and it happened twice in the history. Now, this goes against, from what I read, from my understanding, it's like all the conventions and whatnot that were in place then. But the stupid thing is, the commander of that, who was Anthony Mears, he was only reprimanded from his superiors. That's it.
So, yeah, that's just a good example of one of the things that was just really messed up.
It was. I mean, this was in the Mediterranean when this was going on, again near Egypt and all that. So,
This was a war crime committed against the Germans.
it was against the Germans, right? By HMS Torbay. That's a British flag. So
British war crime committed against the Germans.
right.
That's supposed to show you that the war crimes were rampant throughout the Allies and the Axis.
Yeah, hard to hear you, Kenny.
Can't hear me?
You're kind of fading in and out, I think. It could be on
That
my
better?
end too. Yeah, it's better.
Yeah, it was. It's just rampant. I mean, you got. That's the thing about when the victors are the ones that create the wars. They're not going to talk about their background. They're not going to say, "Oh yeah, well, our side, we did all this pillaging, we did all this and that." I guess unless they're Vikings, because that's what they went over there for.
Yeah,
Other than that,
but
you're really not going to know all.
Oh, I know. But the stupid thing is, like, Mears, like he made no effort whatsoever to hide the fact that he did this. He kept impeccable logs, apparently. But as I was reading further, so he was basically, his superiors gave him a strong reprimand, and then, but it turns out now, the Hague Convention of 1907, that's what I'm just, I picked up on that, which is intriguing, which banned the killing of shipwreck survivors under any circumstances. So he went against that itself, but he only got a reprimand.
Did you hear about this before, Tim?
Sorry.
I was asking, did you hear about this before?
Yeah, I was going to ask him. Like, you mentioned that they actually did an act. They created an act.
Yeah, as I was looking for 1907. So this is in the 40s. This happened. So you cannot kill shipwreck survivors under any circumstance.
That's crazy that you wouldn't have to make that kind of act. You would think that would just be a no-brainer. Like, to me, at least, I think it would be a no-brainer.
But
we're not savages.
No, but this guy was, and he just got reprimanded. He didn't get, punished in any, major shape or form.
Well, that's one thing I did notice when I was doing research for this, that a lot of the crimes are really all alleged right now, because a lot of times nothing happened. I was seeing a lot of stuff to where U.S. troops would take bones of Japanese soldiers and send them home. I was looking at this guy sent one to his fiance.
I was sent
a skull souvenir to his girl, and nothing ever happened to him for it. She was on some sort of magazine, shows her looking at it and crap. It's like, damn, really? I mean, and then not only that, but the president got a pin, I think it was a pin made from the bone of a Japanese soldier. And he said, this is the kind of gifts I like to see, and I bet you will be getting more of them. That's just ridiculous. This is an American president that got this gift.
Well, wow. Now, I mean, you got to keep in mind, war is hell. People do, there's a lot of crazy shit that does happen in war. And maybe that's the war got to these guys, and they just decided to do what they did, which doesn't make it right. I didn't say it's a right thing to do, but whew.
Yeah, man. Just when I really heard that crap about the skulls being made into souvenirs, like, geez, that is just. I mean, that's something you would think from like a South American tribe that doesn't have a whole lot of human contact, not from what we considered ourselves in that time to be a civilized country. You know what I mean?
Yeah, civilized my ass.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Well, that was a great. That was a great story, Stuck. Good research on that one. Tim, what do you got for us?
Yeah, no problem.
Well, I mean, sorry, Stuck.
Go ahead. I just said no problem.
Oh, okay. I actually, okay, backing up. I've always, I mean, is the internment of Japanese Americans, is that actually, do you think, considered a war crime? Because I'm not leaning towards that, to be honest with you. I never knew anything about it until I saw an interview with Pat Morita. You remember him from Karate Kid and Happy Days?
Yeah.
He was in one of those Japanese internment camps as a kid. And
really?
we never learned about this stuff in school.
No, you don't. You don't. What you hear about in school is mainline conventional. Okay, this is what we want you to learn.
Doug, can you turn down the background noise?
Annoying.
Doug, can you turn down the background noise?
Yeah, sorry.
All right, go ahead, guys. Doug, can you turn down the background noise?
Holy echo.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead, guys. Doug, can you turn down the background noise?
Holy echo.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm gonna mute him until he gets it. He's gone now. Okay.
We scared him off. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Well, I mean, like I said, I never knew about this stuff. And, obviously when I saw this was the topic, I was one, as far as World War II war crimes and stuff like that, are there people in chat or who can come on the panel that can maybe give examples of what that was like? Because I remember talking to my parents and stuff, and they were probably just, not even teenagers when WW2 broke out. But, they didn't have TV back then. And the only news you kind of got was those old movie tone things when you went to the movies on Saturday.
Or on the radio.
And I mean, let's face it, those were really skewed in one direction.
They were.
And I remember talking to my mother, and she was like, you have to understand, it's not that we let this happen. We just didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think it would be hard to not notice when, especially the people that are in the areas, because what you're talking about is, remember when because they did the same thing for Cuban Americans. Remember back in the
early 80s.
Yeah, they did that to Cuban. It was right in New York. Those are hard things to not see, especially when you're in that neighborhood. I think it's things that people maybe saw, but just realize that it's a part of war sort of thing, because the Germans did the same thing with the Jews, right? And the thing is, do we consider that a war crime, what they did to the Jews? Because if we consider that a war crime, how could we not consider what we did to the Japanese a war crime too? You know what I mean?
Exactly. But what most people are taught, unfortunately, is that the core of the war, like, Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor there, but then the U.S. did not want to jump in until that point, so they jumped in, and so you get this general timeline and storyline of how the battles went, won or lost in a lot of cases, but you don't hear about all of these other little things that went on all over, which is
Yeah,
unfortunate.
I'm still moved by FDR's what do you call it? We have nothing to fear but fear itself speech after he ignored the war for like a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh, uh,
you do realize the U.S. did not want to be part of the war to begin with. They tried
Oh yeah,
everything. You guys tried everything to stay out of it.
Joe Kennedy. He was like pushing FDR. No, no, no.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't realize it's not like the U.S. wanted to go to war. Like the Japanese basically forced their hand on that.
yeah, very true. We didn't want to go in. We didn't want to get involved in this, but yeah, they forced it. They didn't want us to. And that's pretty much what lost them the war. A lot of people have that consensus that if we wouldn't have got involved, it probably would have gone differently. I think it has more to do with that. I think uh, if Hitler wouldn't have been um, so full of bravado, if he would have had a different game plan, if he would have been
Well,
more,
actually,
if he would have listened to his advisors more, I think it would have went a lot differently.
it would have.
You
I
know?
see his
Oh,
initial. I did some. This was years and years and years ago. But what I got out of it was that his original battle plan and takeover plan was pretty much flawless. Okay, and he could have accomplished a complete takeover at the very least of Europe, Britain, and pretty much the Soviet Union anyway at that point. But he got cocky and bravado. And he didn't listen to his advisors and yada yada yada. But he had a brilliant plan that would have worked.
Yeah,
Actually, Stuck. Who was Hitler's like? He was like his best friend and number two. You know what I mean? And he flew, I guess, to Britain in the middle of the night. And I've seen documentaries that speculate that that's where like Hitler just like it actually broke his heart. Do you know who I'm
I
talking about?
I know who you're talking. The name eludes me. Like, I'm horrible with these names
Is
sometimes.
it Goering?
The story.
Goering?
Oh, I can't even remember. I just remember hearing about that. Now, was that ever confirmed? Though? I never knew if that was confirmed.
now, Douglas, it wasn't your mic. It was just that you had YouTube on in the background, and we could hear ourselves talking. If you could come back on but like mute YouTube, you'd be fine because we heard you fine. It's just there was all kinds of background noise because of you had YouTube app sound on. If you just mute it, it would be no issue. That's
Hey,
right.
yeah. I know. I don't. I heard that story. I just never knew if it was true or not, though. And I can't remember the name.
Rudolph Hess says.
Thank you, man.
And there was also, if I remember correctly, from like because I actually saw I think it was like two documentaries that were talking about this. One was about the guy himself, and one was about like a thing about World War II, a series and stuff like that. But they were also speculating that Hess at that time maybe wasn't in the best mental state.
Didn't see that one, but I guess dealing with Hitler would put you in that position, right?
Well, guys, we have a new panelist, Douglas.
Hi, Doug.
Go forth. Doug is Comfort Doll's hubby, so let's treat him with all kinds of respect because we don't want Comfort Doll to kick our ass.
Or mine.
Or yours, absolutely. All right, so
thanks, man, for the
do you have a war crime you would like to talk about?
I mean, my question is how far are we going into the war crimes? You have stuff like the Unit 731, the American bombing of Tokyo, firebombing of Tokyo.
I think we're trying to.
I'm
sorry?
Rule is as long as it's not connected to the Holocaust, everything else is fair game.
Okay.
The Americans actually firebombed Tokyo?
Yeah, They did.
Purposely.
Yeah.
The issue was is that
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Doug.
basically the stated purpose was because of the production facilities, and that's where the workers were. But underlying that was the fact that they were facing the invasion of Japan and trying to avoid that at all possible. And so, after some studies were done, approved by LeMay, they found that wooden houses and napalm work really well together.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I want to say that the death toll, if you look at the history books, it's in, I want to say, like the 20s to 30s. Japanese put it the 80s. But accurate estimations actually put it more near the 100 to 125,000 people killed.
Yeah, I heard that the Tokyo firebombing was actually more people died there than they did at the nuke bombings. The two nuke bombings.
No.
Yes, because the nuke bombings were concentrated. The Fat Man and Little Boy, August 7th and August 9th, were basically very rudimentary bombs. It's not like what we have today where we could drop it in one side of the nation and wipe out half the other side.
Well, here's a stunning fact. I just looked it up because I was just curious. Talking about deaths, do you guys know how many people died in World War II?
Oh, I don't know the number. If I had to take a guess, I'd say 250,000. Maybe.
No, it was total.
50 million.
I wouldn't even bother to guess because the number will probably be wrong anyway.
Oh yeah, it's about 85 million people.
Ooh,
The Russians lost 20 million alone.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
And then you look at the Chinese, they had it rough with the Japanese invasion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was way off. Maybe I'm thinking about the Civil War. The Civil War had like
500,000 or something like that in Civil War.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think so. That's what I was thinking. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a lot of people that died. Now, Doug, so we were talking about this earlier. Would you consider? Tim brought this up. Would you consider the Japanese internment camps that we had here in the U.S.? Would you consider those a war crime?
In the sense that they violated the rights of American citizens, yes. I think it was a war crime against ourselves. The problem is at that point in time, in our society, there wasn't a whole lot of gray area. So
True.
the view was, I mean, if you look at, not to bring politics and all that into it, but if you look at how we were treating women and African Americans at that time, if you didn't look like us, we didn't trust you. And you all of a sudden, we get this bomb or get this attack from a foreign nation, and these people, innocent people that have been here for years, decades, maybe generations, all of a sudden you realize they don't look like us. But in that sense, yes, I think it was.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Especially how we, in my opinion, is like, I think it makes us hypocrites to not think that, especially with how we got on Germans for what they did to the Jewish people. You know what I mean? They were doing the same sort of things. I mean, of course, we weren't going out killing them like the Germans were, to be honest. But they did keep them in internment camps. So we're saying shame on you, but then we're doing the same thing over to the Japanese.
Now, I got a question about those internment camps. Were we doing the same things to the people, or were we at least treating them
I was just going to say that.
some humane level, like, where we were actually, feeding them properly and, making sure that they were, sheltered during the whole process?
There were no gas chambers, that's for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
that's true, man.
No labor camps.
No,
Yeah, we didn't kill them. That's for sure. I'm sure we didn't treat them very nicely either, because come on, I mean, when U.S. soldiers are taking skulls and sending them to their sweethearts, I can't imagine the internment camps are going to be day camp.
No. Now, here's a big question: the bombing of Hiroshima, dropping the bomb. Could you consider that a war crime? on some level?
Ooh. I don't know, because that was like in an act of war. I think it was an exaggerated. I don't think we needed. I think maybe they should have targeted somewhere that was
Less populated?
I don't know, less populated for sure.
You kind of get a catch-22 with that.
Nagasaki too.
Sorry, Doug. Go ahead.
You kind of get a catch-22 with that, because the whole purpose of the atomic bombs was to bring Japan to the negotiation table.
Yeah.
We had already defeated them in the Pacific. We pushed them back literally to the Japanese homeland. The problem was, and if anybody's been in the military, we sit and we plan and we look at numbers. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I want to say that casualty estimations for an Allied invasion of Japan was in like the high 60s to 70%. So if you look at it in the sense of, we dropped a mass destruction device on non-combatants. Yeah. Unfortunately, if by definition that would be a war crime. However, if you look at it, the fact that how many combatants or non-combatants would have been killed had we invaded Japan, because the Japanese mentality at that time was still based on Bushido, and
Right.
they literally would have fought to the last man, woman, and child.
Right.
Had we stepped foot.
Exactly.
And those numbers could have been greatly elevated in the deaths of innocent Japanese.
But I still don't. I mean, I understand the logic that our side would take a lot less, casualties in this case, versus their side and non-combatants, blah blah blah. But at the same time, they could have picked a different target that was, combatants only, not non-combatants.
And they could have, but they also had it had to be based on terror too.
Yeah,
because
if you're not scared of it, then what good is it?
Yeah,
that's a good point though. If they would have put it on an area that wasn't populated, the Japanese probably would be like, "Oh, yeah, that's big and all, but we didn't really lose anything, so we're going to keep going."
But was there not plenty of military targets they could have picked to do the same thing?
What I heard, we destroyed a lot of their military targets already.
Hiroshima was a major naval port in the Japanese Empire. They had saved it from all the bombing because they wanted to show the world what the atomic bomb could do,
and they did.
Yeah.
It's
Truman wanted to show them that he wasn't fooling around, and I feel bad for the people of Nagasaki, because they're the ones who got the second one. Nobody remembers Nagasaki.
No, because it was the second,
and that's and that's literally the one that ended the war when you think about it. But
I always remember, I don't know if it ended the war, but it definitely made Japan not a non-factor.
Oh, well, yeah. The emperor was like, "Okay, let's go to the table."
Well, they had no choice at the time. They had nothing military that could stop the B-29. We could send plane after plane after plane. If you shoot 5 down and one gets through and drops that bomb, it still decimated the city.
That bomb is
right.
All right, Power Wagon, welcome.
Hey guys, we need to wait John up here. She's full of fun facts.
Power Wagon, what's up, man?
Hey, how we doing, Kenny?
Doing all right. Did you get enough sleep?
Oh yeah, I slept till about 10 o'clock this morning.
Nice. Man, we had like a 4-hour stream last night. Comfort Call was there. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, sorry I missed the stream last night. I was talking with Beanie for a while.
It's no worries. But yeah, so what do you have to add to our war crimes talk, Power Wagon?
Yeah.
Well, just let me finish on the atomic bomb stuff. Nagasaki, the bomb actually missed its target. It actually missed the city and went into a ravine just outside the city. and that's why the casualties were so much lower. For the bomb was actually a bigger yield than the Hiroshima bomb, but it killed almost half as many. There's so many things. There's so many things at play with the atomic bomb. I mean, we could go on forever debating whether it's a war crime or not.
Oh, I was just no debate. It was just a curious question. That was it, you know. So
right. I mean, the United States was heavily, I don't want to say at war with Russia. You know, Russia declared war on Japan the day after we dropped the bomb in Hiroshima. I mean, there's just so many factors going on with that.
Also, Tate brought up a good point. So that was done for the USSR benefit. We wanted them to see we had it and we'll use it. I probably had a lot to do with it as well.
Interesting thing.
Really, yeah, we were really out. They were, yeah, absolutely.
Because didn't they have Russian scientists when they were designing what do they call Fat Man, Little Boy, whatever? I don't know.
Yeah, Project Paperclip. We got a bunch of actually it was after World War II because there was a bunch of World War II scientists that came over and helped us try to win the space war. Space race, I should say.
Anybody know the name of the plane that dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima?
Enola Gay.
Okay.
There you go.
Good.
The better question is who dropped the one on Nagasaki?
That I could tell you. Again, you're right. Nobody knows about the story. I didn't even know about the
Boxcar.
Okay, yeah.
All right,
What was it called?
Boxcar.
Foxcard. Okay.
No,
Boxcar.
Boxcar.
Oh, Boxcar.
Oh, okay,
like
cool.
a train.
Tim, have another drink.
You hasn't been drinking.
I haven't had any.
Oh no. Okay.
That's why I'm so.
Yeah.
Once you sell the PBRs, I become the genius in the room.
All right. So, Power Wagon, what you got for us?
I've got an interesting one here. It's Operation Teardrop, the United States. The United States was fearful that Germany was developing ballistic missiles to be fired off their submarines. So when they interned the crew from U-boat 546, they were so desperate for the information that they resulted to torturing the Germans to try to get the info, even though the Germans had no technology to develop ballistic missiles firing out their submarines. But they tortured and killed all the crew trying to get the info out of them.
Oh, jeez.
Did they
I didn't
succeed?
hear about that one.
Did they get the information?
There was no information to get. The Germans had no technology, but it was rumored that they were developing it, and they were so desperate to get it that they tortured everybody and killed them all.
The closest thing they had was the V2, and that was never going to fit on a submarine. And the V1 and V2 both were so inaccurate that you might hit the same country you're aiming at.
Yeah.
So that was the V1 or the V2 was the closest thing that the Germans had to a nuke?
Well, they were developing nukes, which is why us and Russia took their scientists after the war. But they had the V2, which was the first basically intercontinental ballistic missile. It actually went to the atmosphere and then came back down because they found with the V1 that some mosquitoes and some of the meteors could catch the V1s, knock them out.
And the V2 is what we stole the whole technology after the war. Not we, but the U.S. did. Anyway.
We took their scientists.
Yeah, if you look at the beginnings of NASA, the guy that did the V2 project was in on the base building of NASA.
Oh yeah, Werner von Braun, who developed the V2s, was totally behind all of NASA's rockets, all of them.
And Fanta the orange drink.
Oh, Tang.
So if you don't like the Nazis, don't support Fanta. Don't support Fanta.
Okay.
But you know,
I used to love Fanta grape as a soda. when I was a kid.
All right, so
I miss Fanta. And no, we're not going to talk about grape soda again.
I'm gonna do the one that I have. Okay, hold on, let me bring it up again. Mine's the U.S. Actually, it's against the.
Don't keep us hanging here.
I think we dropped him.
No.
No. Like we're all hanging on that last word. I've got this.
Hold on. Slow,
I
my
fell
phone's
off the edge
slow.
of my
Sorry.
couch.
I'm just waiting to hear a thud that he.
All right, so mine is talking about the. Actually, this ought to be good for all of you Moorish people out there. The Moroccan Gormiers or whatever they are. The French Moroccan troops of the French Expeditionary Corps, known as Gormiers, committed mass crimes in Italy during and after the Battle of Monte Cassino and in Germany. According to Italian sources, more than 12,000 civilians, above all young and old women and children, were kidnapped, raped, or killed by the Gormiers. It was actually featured in an Italian film, too.
Wow. So
it was.
What do you mean it was featured in an Italian film? They made a movie about it, or they actually filmed it?
Well, the actual what happened was it was a movie based off, and the main villain was a Moroccan black guy he was like a rapist. And during World War I, they kind of did the same thing with the Germans. One of their main villains in World War I was a Russian rapist, and he just raped all the German women, and just that kind of propaganda they would do. It's pretty much Italian propaganda against the Moroccan people. I thought that was interesting.
Now, anybody get charged at the end of this, or it just is what it is, and everybody?
Oh no, that was no. I don't. From my understanding, they didn't get charged or nothing. It was just they got away with it. They got to do it
because they didn't do like the Geneva Convention until after World War II, right?
Right.
That's why.
Well, this is the stupid part. We've had to.
You would think it would be common sense, to be honest with you.
Well, it took but it took 85 million people in the Second World War, and I don't know how many in the First World War offhand, but I mean that many people to die to come up with, a new way to do this, and come up with the Geneva Convention for starters. I mean it's stupid, but it is what it is. History is history. I hope it never repeats.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, when you think of the rules of war, not everyone followed the rules of war. We sure as hell didn't follow any kind of rules of combat when we were fighting British for our freedom. We were fighting just like the Vietnam fought us, and we were pissed at the Vietnam for fighting us the way they did. When it's like, well, they just were doing what we were doing to the British. I mean, to be completely honest.
Exactly. I mean,
it's not a boxing match. It's a war. You got to fight dirty.
Absolutely, like Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee fought dirty.
Really? You think so?
No.
Are you kidding me? That was his whole martial art. Was it would be eye rakes, just all kinds of stuff. It was dirty. He fought definitely dirty.
Sure. I still love that scene with him fighting with Kareem.
That was good.
You guys remember that?
No.
From the movie, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
Yeah, that's Game of Death.
Game of Death, yes. That was bizarre. I mean, Bruce Lee looked like a little kid compared to Kareem.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, absolutely. So are there any other war crimes? Are there any other war crimes anyone else would like to bring up that they would like to discuss?
Well, there's a whole whack ton of stuff that I saw as I was researching it. And it's just a lot of it's just small tidbits of this and that and the other thing. It's just hard to say, what really is. Otherwise, you just got to sit there and go through them all one by one,
Well, just the interesting ones, whatever interesting ones you want to talk about. Yeah, do you have any?
Let's see.
When the United States liberated Dachau concentration camp, they killed 500 of the German guards there,
Jeez.
just in reprisals for what they had seen. That doesn't get talked about.
No, that really doesn't. I never heard anything about that. But then again, I mean, it was war crime, but do you really feel bad for those German soldiers after what they were doing to all those people, you know?
Not a bit.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say that the German soldier is a different kind. If you research the Wehrmacht, the German soldiers are trained to obey any order, no matter what it is. That's just the way they are, no matter if it's immoral or not.
That's right.
That's actually why, if you look at our military code of conduct to this day, because of Nuremberg with the Germans and the Japanese, one of the big defenses to a lot of the lower enlisted used in those was I was following orders. So that's why in the military today we have, if you're given an unlawful order, you don't have to follow it. You get clearance. Thing of it is what they don't point out is person's giving you an unauthorized or unlawful order. They're probably not going to care too much about whether you live if you don't follow it.
May I ask a question? Who captured the first Enigma machine?
I want to say it was one of either the American or the British Navy attacked a submarine, and it came to the surface and didn't sink, and they were able to get one.
I remember that. Everybody, we know what that Enigma machine is, right? Some people don't.
I actually don't know what it is. What is it?
That is the machine.
It was a decryption device
That the Germans used to that's how they sent their messages through their encrypted codes. We captured, as the Allies, it got captured.
Yeah, they were able to break the German code to all their U-boats.
I just looked it up. It was the HMS Bulldog of the Royal Navy that when he captured the boat, the U-boat, they got the Enigma machine on it.
Yeah, I think they tried to scuttle, and the crew tried to scuttle and didn't get the charges right or something, and they were able to get on and get it.
Yeah, which was that's
well, guys on the panel. Do you remember that Matthew McConaughey movie, U-150 or something like that? And wasn't that the Enigma machine?
Yes, but that's not a true story.
No. It's made up, but it's.
Oh, okay. I thought it was based on a true story. I'm sorry.
No.
It's hard to tell what's based off a true story anymore anyway, Even when they tell you it's based off a true story, it doesn't necessarily mean it is based off a true story.
Well, if it's on the internet, it must be true.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
May brought up a good
and
point.
Hey, guys, what
about... do you really think in a theater of war you could say no to an order? That's probably no, not at all. I wouldn't.
Oh,
I wouldn't.
Well,
definitely wouldn't.
And especially if you're looking at like the Japanese military, was based on.
Yeah, to the death.
Hold on, guys. It's just one at a time. Everyone's going to get a chance to talk. I'm not really able to understand what people are saying when two people or three people are talking. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. If you look at the Japanese military, while they were modernized equipment-wise, their views were still based in medieval samurai, bushido, and subservient views. So, no. If a Japanese soldier refused an order, he would be dead before he got it out of his mouth. Germans, sometimes it would depend on the commander of the unit, because not all officers in the German army were Nazis.
How's that?
Right.
Oh, because the Nazis is a party. Okay. I can't remember. Was it the? I believe it was.
Okay, I see.
So, Scott, did you have something you want to say in regards to that?
Well, the one thing that I saw a documentary on some of the old technology from World War II, and one of the things Japanese had that they were getting ready to. One of the things they were going to do was an attack, not Pearl Harbor, Panama Canal, and the U.S. Anyway, is they had their submarines and they actually had their airplane, which was in a tube on the submarine. And the intention was to the wings folded and the tail folded and everything. And when it was basically designed to launch the air, that they would, cruise up to the coast, open up the hatch, and launch this airplane with a catapult right off the submarine. And apparently, only one of these boats or one of these planes anyway, still in existence. Anywhere.
Those were the I-400s.
Thank you. I was trying to remember I couldn't remember the name of it, but it was just fascinating. They were that far ahead on some of the thought technology,
Tim?
Yeah.
Did you have something you want to say?
Oh,
you guys are all three were talking. Well, all three of you were talking at once. I just want to make sure everyone got to hear what you guys were saying. So,
oh yeah,
go ahead, Tim.
Oh. I was originally just going to make mention of something that May actually put in the comments, and to this day, it's still an amazing story. Hedy Lamarr.
Go on.
And that's not Headley; it's Hedy.
Oh, yeah, Hedy.
I'm not talking about Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles.
Cool. Right.
I won't sing the theme song. I don't want you to get a copyright strike, but I know it by heart.
Yeah. So just some of all the things. I mean, we get go on and on about World War II, man. There was so much crap that was done to us, against us, by us, by the Russians, by the Germans,
Yeah.
all that good stuff. So, what do you guys think? Here's a question for the panel and everyone in the chat. I'm gonna start with. I'll start at the opposite. I'll start with Power Ranking first. What was Hitler's greatest mistake? Why? What lost Hitler that war?
Oh, it's obvious to me. It's fighting a war on two fronts.
Yeah.
I mean, he was beating everybody. He rolled over France. He had Britain on the ropes. His worst thing was starting another front with Russia.
I agree with you on that. Doug?
I'm going to agree with Power Wagon on that one. But I'm going to take it a little bit to a different. I think he got to a point where he could have almost ignored Britain. Britain was an island. They could harass with bombers and aircraft and stuff, and their navy obviously was pretty powerful. But there towards the end, he could have just bottled them up, and once he accomplished that, then attacked Russia. He made the same mistakes Napoleon did, attacking two fronts, attacking Russia in the springtime. So he did the worst of his fighting in the winter, not being prepared for the winter. I mean, it's almost textbook down the line, the same mistakes Napoleon made.
Yeah, for sure. You cannot win a war in Russia in the winter. It's just they're going to wait you out. They're just going to you're going to beat yourself essentially, and your troops are just going to be beat down and wore down.
Oh yeah, and they would basically what they would do is
sacrifice those guys.
Go ahead, Doug. Continue.
I was just going to say, basically all Russia did was just fall back. They knew winter was coming, and they fell back quicker than what Hitler could keep the supply lines. So between that, a lot of the equipment breaking down after, years of use and abuse in war, and then the winter itself, that was doomed from the start.
Now, my understanding was they also went and they cut the supply lines to the German troops Not only did they didn't run out, they may have run out too, but they also just couldn't get supplies to them, period, because the Russians were attacking the supply lines, making sure that they're fucked.
Oh, absolutely.
And the
Smart
supply
by
line
the
was
Russians.
too long.
That was actually.
Go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say that was actually pretty smart of the Russians. Cut off their chain of supply.
I mean,
They
it
knew what they were
wasn't
doing.
smart. It wasn't so smart as it was just luck.
So you just refuse to give the Russians any kind of credit, huh? What did the Russians do to you, Power Wagon? Why do you refuse to give them credit? Yeah, that was, but no, because like Doug was saying, they did the same thing against Napoleon, and Hitler didn't learn from Napoleon's mistakes. But then again, I mean, that seems to be the issue with a lot of history repeats itself. There's a reason we have that phrase nowadays, because it's very true. If you don't learn from it, you're doomed to repeat it. And Hitler fell prey to that.
Yeah.
Well, Hitler. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I do I agree 100% with Power Wagon. He took on, like, he got cocky, and that's what I read years ago about his whole battle plan. Like, if he just stuck to his original plan, instead of going on, getting cocky and going on 2 different war fronts and trying to battle Russia in the winter and so on, he could have won that. So he made some serious critical errors. Again, like Napoleon did. Napoleon was a genius. He was a genius at war, but he fucked up. Right? I'm not saying he was a person, but his genius level as far as his battle plans and his initial idea of how to execute it was flawless, really. You can
he was so smart. It made it sound like he almost overestimated his enemies, maybe, and that caused maybe deficiency in his battle plan.
Well, that's part of it, but I mean, if you look back in history, there's a lot of these hated conquerors, like Hitler and Napoleon, that a lot of us dislike for a lot of reasons, et cetera, like Genghis Khan.
Yeah,
their military genius outranks us tenfold.
Now, I didn't hear about this. May brought this up. His foreign agents were one part of his war machine that was laughable. Agents sent abroad who could only speak German. That sounds like a really stupid idea.
Oh, Jesus.
Part of the thing you have to
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Part of the thing you have to remember too is Hitler had a military background, but his background was in field artillery. So stuff like supplies and espionage would not have been something that he dealt with in any realm of the fashion.
Yeah. And you mentioned that. It's funny. I saw actually some pictures, some photos of Hitler when he was a soldier in World War I. Now, I didn't realize this until the other day when I was doing some research. I didn't realize that he would participate as a soldier in World War I. That was news to me, and that was crazy. I didn't no idea about that.
Didn't know that, eh? He was actually he fought in the trenches, and survived.
Yeah, that's good on him.
He actually, at one point, to escape capture, he actually covered himself with the dead bodies of his fellow soldiers, and I guess he was basically stuck there for I think it was 17 hours or something like that.
Oh, see, now we know part of the reason why he was a little crazy.
Yeah, just a wee bit.
Just a little bit, right?
Was that crazy, or in the aspect of just to survive?
Well, no, not that. I mean, being there. No, but I mean, he was stuck there for 17 hours, buried underneath dead bodies. That's going to affect you. That's what.
Yeah, but that's also genius.
I agree, but it's still going to affect you, regardless of genius or not.
Especially if you're close to them. They're your friends.
Yeah,
unless you're a freaking narcissist, not even narcissist, unless you're a sociopath, being under dead bodies for 17 hours, you're going to have some issues after you get free. You know what I mean? At least for a little while. Maybe not the rest of your life, but for a little while, you're not going to be the same. Like, people who knew Adolf were like, yo, Adolf, what's up, my man? After that, he was like, yeah, what's up? After that, he's like, who the fuck are you? What's going on? At least for a little bit, you know?
True.
Good thing. Unless he's a
Oh,
sociopath.
I mean, that's gotta make you paranoid.
I mean, you guys
It's gotta
do know
make you
that
paranoid.
from all the other documentaries that I've been watching over the years, is that there was a lot of separate projects that he took on, through the Nazis for different things, like study into anti-gravity for one. He sent soldiers and crews down to the Antarctic looking for some ancient treasure. He had another set of people looking for Atlantis, for crying out loud. Every aspect.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. So
remember, the Spanish were looking for the Fountain of Youth at one point too. So any kind of thing that's going to help you, that's what the military. Everybody wants to find it. Come on, could you imagine if let's say if it was true? I'm not saying it is. If it's Fountain of Youth was real, and the Spanish found it when they were looking for it, Ponce de Leon would have found it. How much different would the history books look? You think?
Oh, completely different, probably.
Right?
Assuming who drank out of the fountain, though.
Huh?
Who is drinking out of the fountain of youth, though?
Ponce de Leon would have drunk from it. He would have been a celebrated hero afterwards. Sure.
But I mean, was he like a bad guy or what?
No, I don't. No, he wasn't a vampire.
Okay, here's a hypothetical question that is asked in different ways, but in this case, with World War II, knowing today that we had 85 million people die, and the situations and the storyline of what World War II did to everybody around the world, if you had a chance to go back in time to kill Hitler at some point, like say at the end of World War I, would you do that to change history, or would you let history roll?
I wouldn't, because I don't know if I'd be alive then.
And why?
I don't know I'd be alive then.
Okay.
Did you change history? The butterfly effect. That's why I wouldn't do it. It's a butterfly effect. Any small change you make is gonna affect history in a big way, and that's not a small thing to kill Hitler. He's a huge part of our history the way it is. That would have changed lots of things.
But it would change a lot of things.
But
you risk one, not being alive today if you came back, right? You die, and you risk a worse kind of scenario down the road instead.
Well,
go ahead, Doug.
Sorry. Here's another thing. Okay, we're looking at Hitler as the main cause of World War II, but there's an underlying cause. If you look back and to go back to World War I, the end of World War I, the Treaty of Versailles, and the restrictions and penalties and fines and everything that it placed on Germany, and it put Germany into a recession, depression, whatever you want to call it. Hitler got into power because he was number one, a good orator, and said, listen, it's not your fault that we're in this problem. It's these people over here. He focused a hatred and a power of a people that were depressed, desperate, and just angry. So killing Hitler, you might solve a part of the problem, but who's to say someone else who's a better orator and maybe a little bit better tactician doesn't come up and we're all speaking German in 20 years?
That's
absolutely.
That's my curiosity on the question. Like, are we willing to accept what history has, delivered to us and taught us, as, despicable and it's been, you know what I mean? And just move on and try to learn from it, or do we try to change it from then to now? Not a tough. It's an easy question, but it's not an easy question.
Yeah, I'm also thinking about it this way. Like Doug was saying, like it's like cutting the head off a snake. It wasn't just Hitler. He was the right person at the right time, saying the right things to get everyone together. He definitely was. You listen to some of his speeches. They were powerful. They were. He knew what the fuck he was saying. He knew what he was doing, especially politically.
He knew how to control a crowd.
Absolutely, and that's just one of those things. Like, let's say if we did go back and kill him, let's say what if that empowered Mussolini or empower whoever to come up and, like you said, take over and do an even better job. Like, oh, I think the Americans are gonna land here, and they're right, and we get pushed back, and we never land on was it Normandy? We never storm Normandy.
Yeah.
And then we're fucked. If we wouldn't have got a foothold in Normandy, that war would have been a lot different.
Or here's another one.
Okay.
What happens if that person had a better control of Japan? Because Hitler did not want Japan to attack the United States. He did not want the United States to come in because he knew, at the very least, production was going to kill him. So what happens if that person that came in is able to control and talk Japan into not attacking the United States? We don't come into war, because at that point in time, while Roosevelt kind of wanted to come in and help Britain, American people did not. American people didn't want anything to do with the war. And we would have sat on the sidelines while this person was able to take over Europe and Asia.
Yep.
Well,
Now,
I mean,
why-
honestly, is it really fair to say the American people didn't want it? I mean, I know the politicians didn't want it, but, correct me if I'm wrong, when, the poop hit the fan, people were signing up to fight.
Absolutely. But they were signing up to fight in droves after Pearl Harbor.
Right, exactly.
If you look at the history, the American people still remembered World War I. They still remember. You had people that still remembered the gas, the trenches, the disease, which actually killed just as much, if not more people than bullets and gas did. They didn't want a part of that. That's why when Roosevelt kept going to Congress, everybody's like, "No, boss, we ain't going." If we hadn't stepped in, where would that have put everybody else?
Honest question, guys. And sorry, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if any of you guys knew how Hitler actually came to power. I mean, he was a soldier in World War I. How did he become the leader of that country by World War II? See, that's the stuff, we didn't really learn in school. It was just like, Hitler's a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
He started as an activist. Oh, sorry.
Really?
Yes.
No, house painter.
Was it how?
He was a house painter.
Okay, and then they tried some type of coup, if I remember correctly. That put him into prison for a few years, where he wrote Mein Kampf. Got out of prison.
Wow.
And started a political party, and basically it progressed from there to be abbreviated and everything, and eventually worked into the Nazi Party. Nazi Party got control, and then after the Nazi Party got control of the government, kind of just took away all the voting rights, did away with the person in charge.
Yeah,
Well, see,
I
I
mean, who
didn't know
was in
about-
charge of Germany at that time? Like, and stuff.
Kaiser, right?
Was it
No,
Kaiser
President-
Wilhelm?
No, President Hindenburg.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. I remember seeing a lot of pictures. Hitler actually he thought Hindenburg was a big time war hero.
Yeah, he was
A
the
big
leader
time
of the
what?
German army in World War One.
Now, Matron brought up another good point. May needs to get her crap fixed. She can come on and make these points herself. But I'll do it for her for right now. Let's not forget, Britain paid a large sum of money and agreed to give up empire to get America in the war. Does anybody know when the debt was paid off?
I don't think it's ever been paid off, has it?
I've never heard.
That debt was forgiven.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah,
If
it
I'm
was
not
forgiven.
mistaken, the debt between, and here's the fun part, boys and girls. Beginning of World War II, we didn't want to get into it, but we had no problem making toys for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So we started this little thing called Lend-Lease Act. We'll give you the toys, you pay us later. Two main countries we gave them to.
Britain?
No, Britain's one, yes.
Russia.
Okay, three main countries. Sorry, Russia's another. The second one was China.
Poland?
Oh, China.
Wait a minute. China.
Oh, so we were one of those.
Wait, what now? Okay, go on.
So those debts were forgiven by, I want to say Reagan, but I'm sorry, I'm kind of weak on that. I'm not positive, but I know that they were forgiven. All the World War II debts from the Lend-Lease Act and everything like that were forgiven by the United States government. So, in answer,
What about the? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask, what about the debts with Japan? Because I know that America was heavily involved in the rebuilding of Japan.
Yes.
Did the U.S. forgive that too?
No.
I don't think they forgave that, but they got what they wanted out of that.
Which was?
Well, there's this nice country that we started realizing was becoming a superpower. Problem was, is we didn't have any place close to do anything about it. So, fortunately for us, there's this nice little place that we just defeated called Japan that sits right across from the doorstep, so to speak, of Russia.
And China.
And China.
Bingo. I got it.
So we have military bases. Same reason we helped South Korea, because guess what? That puts us closer.
That's right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the U.S., you got to admit, the U.S.
Aren't we pulling troops out of Germany now?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just asking, aren't we actually pulling troops out of Germany now?
Weren't we pulling troops out of Iraq when President Obama was in?
Yeah, we were supposed to be.
And we still have troops there. The thing is, when it comes to pulling the military out of a place, that can take decades. Okay, it's not a flip of a switch. It was basically, we'll pull them out. And as far as Germany goes, I don't know. Oh, okay. I did not know that. Squirrel, sorry. As far as Germany goes, I'm really not sure on whether or not we're pulling out. But I don't know. It's just
Now
They're just
Now with
they're
the debt,
threatening.
Go
ahead. Go ahead, Kenny.
With the debt with Russia, it says the dispute remained unresolved until 1972, when the U.S. accepted an offer from the USSR to repay $722 million linked to grain shipments from the U.S., with the remainder being written off. So Russia's debt was written off in 72. But I don't know about Britain's and any.
Sounds like America funded a whole damn war. Am I wrong?
It seems like that.
I don't think
When
America
you
would.
look at it,
No.
I mean, come on.
No, that forgiving of the debt was a goodwill nature or a goodwill gesture to improve relations on all fronts, and it makes sense. I mean, let's just fucking move on. I only hope we don't have a repeat of what World War II was.
Oh,
I don't think we will, and I'll explain why. If you look at the world today, as far as technology goes, the United States is extremely technology heavy in our armed forces.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Now, if you look in 1970s, when we started that, well, even the 1960s, what gave us more problems in Vietnam? The NVA or the Viet Cong?
The Viet Cong.
If you look in the Gulf War, what gave us more problems? The Iraqi army or the insurgents?
It's the insurgents.
Because of the simple fact, force on force, the United States will more than hold its own.
Oh.
We have technology out there that will decimate tanks, knock out, units very easily. Where I don't want to say suffer, but I mean, that's the only thing I can come up with at this time is small units, guerrilla tactics. Vietnamese, Viet Cong in Vietnam, the insurgents in Iraq and Afghanistan, the small units that negate the potential of our technology, basically, is what is a danger to us. Outside of just us and Russia going toe to toe, which, I mean, if that happens, we're done anyway.
Well, okay. I mean, like we've seen different, like Hitler being one, Saddam Hussein, these particular leaders in a particular country that now decide they want to attack all their neighboring countries and then start a problem. Do you think we'll ever see a problem like that again? I mean,
oh yeah,
we will.
Oh yeah. You're always going to have one country that wants what the other country has.
But now with the UN and all the, sanctions in place that can be put into place, and all the countries that want war, it could be nowadays can be shut down pretty quickly. I hope, and we'll never see kind of.
Let's look. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I don't want to. I don't think with the U.S. being one of the powers, but all the other countries that have a lot of power now too. We don't need that kind of escalation, do we? We won't.
We don't need it, but let's look at how effective sanctions are. Okay, let's see. What's a country that has sanctions? Oh, Iran.
Iran, one, yeah.
Okay. And those sanctions are to stop them from
they come to
building
mind.
nuclear weapons, which they've stopped, right?
We think.
No, they haven't.
No, that's what I mean. We think, yeah. We think they have.
Oh, no, they're openly doing it.
Yeah.
Another country, North Korea. North Korea to stop its ballistic missile testing. They've stopped that, right?
No, they haven't.
Supposedly.
Yeah, but every few months, it's like, oh, oops, we just fired a missile.
Yeah.
Sanctions are only good as far as
Hasn't
everybody.
Tim, hold on. Let him finish, buddy.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I thought he was done. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Doug.
Sanctions are only good if everybody enforces them. Okay, it's kind of like mom and dad. If you're a kid, mommy says no. Okay, well, I'll go ask daddy. Well, if daddy says no, I'll go ask Aunt Sue. Well, Aunt Sue gives me the cookie. Guess what? I still got the cookie, even though mommy and daddy said no.
That's true, eh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, good point. Point taken. No,
Good analogy.
there we go. That works.
Go ahead.
Tim, go ahead. You were saying?
Oh, me? Oh.
You're the only Tim. You're the only Tim here.
Well, I mean, some of the voices are going in and out on me. I don't know if that's a problem with anybody else. I'm on a Chromebook. I'm not on a phone.
I think StreamYard's having some issues when I'm here.
Say what?
StreamYard's having issues from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it sounds like a delay, maybe.
Probably.
I don't know. Anyway, I forgot the question I was going to ask Doug because I think he pretty much answered it with that analogy. So,
I mean, I only hope we don't get the same kind of world conflict that we saw in World War II again. That's, yeah, it's a lot of it's very just,
Now, Stuck. So you're in Canada, right?
Sorry?
You're in Canada, right?
Last I checked, yeah. Is this Canada?
All right. So what kind of war crimes? What kind of?
Look out the window.
Yeah. Go ahead, say it, Kenny.
What kind of war crimes did Canada commit during World War II? Did you look into that at all?
I only found one, but it was just a
Ooh.
German camp, if I remember correctly. I'd have to go dig it up. But it was basically we took over the camp, and it turns out it's the local inhabitants did a lot of the mass murder or something. I'm not sure. Like there wasn't much I could find on our side, honestly. But we
I
were
don't know.
on
How
a lot
many
of.
troops did you guys send in there?
I don't know offhand. I'd have to go
That's
look
what
it
I was
up
gonna
here.
ask.
Okay.
Let me just see here.
Canada actually sent a lot of troops.
We did. We sent in a lot. We had a lot of death as well, but we were also responsible for some pretty good victories too. You know that. I hope. You know. Let's see here. I'm just looking it up right now.
Now, here's the important question. Okay. Now, this depends on the quality of troops. Were they French Canadian troops?
We were mixed. I think I would say we were mixed. So let's see. We had 45,000 people only die in here in the U.S. here. Sorry, in the war. I'm just looking at fought. I used to know this number too, just offhand.
If I can interject here for a second, one of the big things that Canada did do is at the beginning, before we stepped into the war, they actually were escorting some of the Atlantic convoys. We gave them some, to be perfectly honest, really crappy ships. But they still went out and were escorting these convoys against the Kriegsmarine from the parts of the United States and Canada over to Europe.
Yep. We did our part. Well, I can't find how many actually fought in the war, but I got a number here of 55,000 people died, another 55,000 wounded. So that gives you some idea. It's not a lot. But our population at that time was only about 10, 11 million or so, right?
Okay, right, okay. Now, here's a question about the U-boats. Now, I know the U-boats were big in the Nazi regime. Did they disappear after the Nazis lost power, or did the German army continue to use them for a while, or what? What was all that?
Used for a while anyway.
The U-boats basically, what happened with them? They enjoyed a buffet for the first few years of the war. But basically towards the end of the war, you had longer range aircraft, you had better sonar, you had better anti-submarine warfare weapons. And another big one that we alluded to earlier, we had the Enigma machine. So we could track where they were going. We could be ready for them. That's why if you look at the beginning of the war, Kriegsmarine losses in the U-boat fleet were low, very low. Towards the end, it was like, if you get on a U-boat, you're dead.
80% loss rate.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because, we had rocket 80%, sir.
Oh my God.
It was terrible.
And you figured that by that time, the same thing happened to the German U-boats that happened to the Japanese Naval Air Force is, and at the beginning of the war, you had these experts, and as the war progressed, they would be killed. So towards the end of the war, not only were they fighting, better air cover, better sonar, better anti-submarine equipment, you also had greener crews and greener captains trying to face these odds.
Right on.
Now, was Canada in any danger from Germany, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm sorry, what was that
question? Or did they just join the fight because America was in it? See what I'm saying?
You went out on me, sir. I couldn't hear the question. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I guess what I was asking was, during WW2, was Canada actually a target? Or did they just join the U.S. and the Allies in the fight against evil?
As far as I know, we weren't a target. Like everybody had their eyes set on the U.S. territory. I mean, if they succeeded in attacking America, then yeah, we would have become a secondary target, but not as a primary.
They were targets as far as the U-boats would prowl off of their ports as well as our ports.
Yeah, but as far as Canada itself, no, we were safe.
Yeah.
Well, that's because obviously at that, I mean, you guys are still part of the British Empire, but when Britain entered the war, essentially Canada entered the war as well, from my understanding.
Yeah, because we're part of the Confederate. Yeah.
So the Germans were pretty much patrolling at least the northern part of Northern America in the Canada region before we even got involved in the war. So I'm sure they made it real sure to not go in any of our water space. So, they didn't piss us off, sort of thing.
That would be incorrect, sir.
No, they were here. They were along the shores.
If you look,
Canada,
United States as well. There's reports in the early war that U-boats got so close to the U.S., sinking ships, that people on the shores could see the fires of the burning ships. And this is before we ever joined. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's why they had a heyday. They could sit off our coast and just wait for these slow transports that were unarmed and unescorted.
Well, if they didn't want us in the war, why would they do some stupid shit like that?
Because the Germans wanted power, and they can do it in that case.
What they would do as well, though, is in the beginning, they were restricted warfare. And basically, they would try to avoid, number one, sinking any American ships, any American flag ships. Number two, if possible, they would try to allow, or at least some commanders would try to allow the ship to be evacuated, abandoned. So they would try
civilian, civilian losses,
or limited civilian losses. So they would try to negate as much as possible. But then when we entered the war, I want to say it's when we entered the war, it may have been a little bit earlier, Hitler just told Dorrance, go to town.
Yeah, it was after we entered the war. That's when Germany started attacking ships off our coast.
It's scary.
Didn't they find like a tug off the coast of California from WW2 a while back?
I don't know about that. I know they found some off of Georgia. They found some, I want to say, in the Carolinas as well.
They found a few.
I think in Maine, I think.
Well, you also know that the Japanese attacked mainland United States, right?
Yeah, where they attacked mainland.
Look at the fire balloons, or bomb balloons, excuse me. And actually, there was one sub that a Japanese submarine, I can't remember the name of it or the exact location, but it was off the West Coast, came up and shelled I want to say it was a refinery. Minimal damage, minimal casualties. But the terror balloons, bomb balloons, they were finding those in the United States for years after the war.
It sucks, but honestly, just that's awesome. I mean, the technology I think is cool. Just a freaking bomb on a balloon, that's just kind of cool. Got to give them that. That's kind of cool.
Kind of scary.
I'm looking it up right now. That's really cool. The Fugu balloon bomb.
Okay, I've got another hypothetical thought, just based on the history of the war. If Hitler were to initiate his own D-Day on the United States and land on a couple of beaches, how successful do you think he would be?
Unsuccessful. Very unsuccessul.
Very unsuccessful.
Well, let me rephrase that. Depending on when it would occur. Early war, no. He might have been able to get a foothold. Once we got ramped up, if he would have set foot on beaches, he would have had a hard time to get within sight of a beach because of air cover. And then once he got on the beaches, it would just be decimation.
Yeah.
Pat was asking, didn't the Japanese also attack Alaska?
Yes, the Aleutian Islands.
Yeah, Cat, the Aleutian Islands.
I
They
didn't know
just
that.
really hit. They hit everywhere. I think that was the problem. What do you think? Maybe that was the issue with the Japanese too, that they stretched themselves too thin.
Well, they were trying to do a Doolittle raid on us. Basically, if you remember, the Doolittle raid was not too far after Pearl Harbor. We needed a shot of morale in the arm, so B-25's off the carrier. Hey, that can't happen. We go and bomb them. We cause no real tactical damage, but the morale boost was, ooh, wow. And it showed Japan, hey, you're vulnerable. They were trying to do the same thing. Hey, look, you may be way over there. We may not be able to reach you with a plane or ship or anything, but we're at least going to show you that we can damage you.
Now I have a hypothetical question. Let's say Japan never attacked us, right? Japan and Germany just kept doing what they were doing. They probably would have, and they didn't. Germany didn't stretch themselves too thin. They took France, and they went smartly and took Russia. Do you think that obviously they then would have turned their eyes towards America at that point? What would our chances have been if we would have, if it would have just been they had no one else left to worry about except us? They
Well,
had all their focus on us.
I think that America would have, regardless of whether or not, if Pearl Harbor never happened, America still would have joined the war at some point. Probably halfway through or a little bit later. Just from the standpoint of humanitarian side of things, the fact that friends with Britain, so there would be no choice really. It would be a joining regardless. I don't think an attack would need to happen at that point. It would just be, we're going to help you out.
But at the same time, attack was needed to get us involved in the war in the first place.
Well, yeah, in this case, it did. But if it didn't happen, it would be delayed, but America would join on a voluntary basis versus a necessity.
The issue I see with that, and totally no disrespect,
Of course,
is okay, we're looking at some point in time, we're saying, okay, the United States just looks and goes, oh crap, this is bad. What would it take for us to get to that point? Because at this point in time, if you remember when we actually joined the battle, if you look at the history books and even from interviews from Churchill, Britain was on the last leg. I mean, they were holding their own. Don't get me wrong. They were holding their own.
Impressive.
But they were on their last leg. If we hadn't ramped up our production of military equipment more so than what it was, and they hit us, we would be hurting. Yeah, we could outproduce Germany, but it still takes time for that production to go. If they would have been able to develop some type of bomber, which they were in the process of doing, at that point in time, that could hit us and start pounding our production facilities, we might have faced a bit of an uphill battle. I'd still say they'd be hard pressed to beat us, because at that point in time, even the South America, Mexico, stuff like that, if everybody has the apartment on fire, people are going to work together to try to make sure their shit doesn't burn too. Pardon my French. Sorry.
That's a good point, though. That's right, because if they would have conquered all of the European area in Russia, they would have come over to North America, and then you would have had Mexico and, like you said, South America get involved in it too. So it really would have been a complete world war sort of thing.
I don't think the Russians would have gone along with it, even if they were prisoners and stuff.
Well, in the scenario we're talking about, the Russians would have already gotten conquered, because Germany wouldn't have split themselves. They wouldn't have went in the winter, which I don't know whose bright idea that was, but they're stupid. They should. I hope they got what's coming to them. But yeah, in the scenario we're talking about, Germany's already conquered everywhere.
Germany.
Huh?
1-on-1, I think U.S. would have taken Germany.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, Germany's a small country compared to the rest of the world.
But they're small, but they were freaking powerful. That's for damn sure. I mean,
well, they made themselves
they were
powerful.
doing their shit. They were doing their shit. They were handling the freaking whole European side over there. Asia was fucked.
If I
Hitler
recall,
was like, come on, man.
their entire economy switched to 100% war machine at that, for the war. Everything was all war, and that's the scary part. They took this little tiny country and turned it into a war machine.
The other thing you need. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. You're good.
The other thing you need to look at too, and something that's almost impossible to really estimate is, all right, you look at stuff that was being produced by Germany just at the time that we finally closed the door on them. You have the Me-262, the Averado, the jet bombers and fighters. Okay, this is stuff they're working on and producing while they're getting the crap bombed out of them. What do you think they're going to be producing if they're kicking ass? And they get more supplies, they get more materials, and they get more intellect by taking in other scientists and stuff.
Like the U.S. did.
Absolutely.
Now the question with that is, like, not only that, but then you have to think of how long would you think it would take before would those scientists go to work for them right away? Would you think they would try and sabotage them in the beginning? How long would you think it would take before they were an integral part of the German war machine?
And that's, I'm sorry, nuts.
Yeah, it's okay. It depends on the scientist, I think. I mean, you give them. You also have to make a sweet enough offer, and I'm sure that the U.S. offered those scientists a very sweet deal.
Yeah, you work for us, and we don't try you.
Well,
that's pretty good motivation.
You also have to look at too, what would you need motivated to do something that's not within your norm?
Well, don't I mean, you got a job for life,
Right.
like, come work for us. You're safe here. You get citizenship. It's, like they probably got more than what has ever been disclosed, ever.
Or they may have gotten if you come work for us, your daughter will live, or your son will live.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair, but
Let's remember, we won the war, so we got to write the history books.
Absolutely.
But we've already shown that, we have the propensity, if we think the stakes are high enough, to go to torture.
Yeah.
So Douglas,
what if we're faced? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, Douglas. So, are you saying that you think all the scientists that came over, they basically had their bombs twisted behind their backs, with threats of extortion type stuff?
I don't think
In
all
other
of them
words,
did.
they had
No.
no choice.
I don't think all of them did. I think some of them probably genuinely wanted to do, quote unquote, the right thing. I think some of them saw the writing on the wall and said, okay, I have two choices, Russia or the United States, the devil or the deep blue sea, if you will. And I do think that some of them were encouraged to participate in our group sessions by different means.
Okay, but you ask yourself, you got to remember, scientists study the field or whatever they're expert in for a passion. They are offered a chance to continue their passion. So where they could have been offered a sweet deal to continue doing their passion. Not twisted, not their arms being twisted, but they're like, okay, well, come work for us. Here's what you get. You get the job, you get this, all these benefits, and you can continue to work. And that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to end up at the end of the day doing, and they didn't care at that point whether it was for Germany, U.S., Outer Mongolia, the Antarctic. Who cares? They were studying what
it was all about the experiment, the challenge.
Okay, but also look at this too. All right, we're going to trust these guys. What did we do with people in our own country just because they shared the same ethnicity of the people that bombed Pearl Harbor, that did one attack?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to let these guys that we've seen the pictures of Auschwitz, We've seen the destruction from the V1s and the V2s in London.
Scary.
Okay, these aren't in the eyes of the people of that day. We're looking back 70 years later. We're talking same day, same week, same month. These aren't saviors.
No.
These are the devil. These are the demons that we're going to make a deal with because we want the knowledge that you have. Now, you're either going to give it to us willingly, and hey, great, we'll offer you, freedom. How much freedom do you think they really had?
None.
Okay.
I think they hardly had any.
Working on a secret project.
Oh, and that's the thing. Most of the scientists that we did take out of Germany were all in. They're using their fields. We got the scientists that were trying to discover all the mind control things. We wanted better methods of interrogation. We weren't getting them to help. We were trying to help ourselves, but we were doing it in such a devious manner. We were trying to employ the tactics that we were pissed off at Germany for doing. Say, hey, that's not fair that they get to try and do this. Well, now we have their scientists. Well, let's go ahead and explore some of what they were doing anyway. Let them do it. Say, hey, just do what you were doing over there, but do it here.
Okay, fair point. I my thought is just that, like, if you have a passion for something, you really don't care, who you work for. If your offer is, if the offer is nice, if it's a good offer, not twisting your arm offer, but just an offer. Say you get shit.
Okay, but what if what your passion is a thermonuclear device that you're building? Okay, you're just coming from the country that tried to kick this country in the balls.
Right.
Okay.
But I'm offered protection to continue studying what I want to do.
Right.
I don't have a personal, how do you put it? I don't have any affiliation or anything like with a particular country in that sense where I'm loyal to that country. I want to study the nuclear bomb. That's it.
Right. Okay, but you're studying it to the point that because it's going to be produced.
Okay, but it can be produced by whoever I'm working for. I don't care.
Right. Okay, and I understand that, but how did you come into being?
Oh, do you want the birds and the beast lecture?
No, just
we'll go off on the side on that later. But my point being this, okay, you're not going to be cut. Not every scientist is completely cut off from society. They have a family.
Yeah.
They have an immediate family, but they also have parents. They have brothers. They have sisters. To produce the same issue that the Germans ran into when they used some scientists of, I don't want to do this because you're going to use it against my own people.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. I see your point, but again, I look at the also. I'm maybe I'm an optimist, but you study a passion. You're given a chance at freedom. Maybe their families were offered the freedoms too. Do we know this?
No, we don't. And you might be. You could be 100% right.
I could be 100% wrong. I don't know. I don't know.
I think maybe a few, or how you're saying it came to be. I'm sure there were a few that were that did that weren't. Oh, they were okay with how everything turned out. But there's a few that were like, well, hold on, no, I'm a nationalist. I'm not gonna do this for my own country. Those are the ones that are gonna have their arm pulled. Those are the ones that are gonna have to be threatened and forced and watched and coerced, sort of thing. But because not everyone, I'm sure not every one of those scientists is like, oh, okay, no worries, I'm just gonna come in here and do what I do anyway. There's no way in hell.
So on
There's
that
no
point,
way in hell.
do we know what von Braun was offered?
No, I don't know what he was offered.
Freedom.
Same thing. Well,
There
besides,
you go, freedom.
but how was he offered it? Like, was he offered it in a nice way, or did they twist his fucking arm? And did he come willingly?
He didn't want to go to Russia and be in Joseph Stalin's gulag.
Mm-hmm. But the point, but you know what he was offered? Like, what was the deal? That he got out of it, other than just being able to study the rocket and build the rockets. Like, what did the U.S. give him in return for his knowledge and his experience and what he was able to do?
Well, he was never. Well, look at this. He was never prosecuted for any war crimes. There you go. That's a big one.
That's a
He
big
got his
one.
life. He got his life. He lived.
But what about his family? Was his family offered? What kind of salary was he given?
I'm sure his family was there, and I'm sure he got a salary. I mean, I'm sure he got paid for what he did. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure
he
they were
was well
fair to him.
compensated.
No, but
Yeah.
it's interesting to find out if you could ever find that information, right?
Yeah. But you also have to look at too, how long did it take us to find out that he was even involved in NASA? You didn't find that in the school.
No, but this is 70 years later. We might be able to dig it up.
Possible.
No? Good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked that question. I've never seen anything about that. I know that he was offered, he worked for it and all the other scientists and blah, blah, blah. But what was the return that the U.S. gave to these people?
Have you ever seen the movie The Right Stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's Werner von Braun in that movie.
Is it? He actually?
Yes.
Oh, I did not know that.
That's
Okay.
what?
I didn't make the connection.
I didn't hear what you said, Paul Wagon. I'm sorry.
The movie The Right Stuff about American test pilots and astronauts.
Right.
The leading scientist for NASA, the one that speaks in the bad German accent, that's Werner von Braun.
No.
Well, look at it this way. Come on, would you rather have bad German accent, or would you rather have no German accent like Tom Cruise had in Valkyrie? Just saying. The only German officer that didn't have an accent at all, I was like, I couldn't get through that fucking movie. Sorry to change the subject, but you said accent, so that's what got me on that.
I'll take the bad German accent. Von Braun. Yeah. No. Holy cow. Mei Chong, she's full of stats tonight.
That's
And
why
she
Mei
won't
Chong needs to
come
get her
on.
stuff. Well, she can't figure out how to do the live stream yet. She said this week. It's the end of the week though, and so hasn't happened. So I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe you intimidate her, Tim. Maybe that's what it is.
Right on.
Wow, look at this. Wow.
Oh no, May is just a wealth of information on every subject. She just knows so much stuff. She's quite traveled and quite a learned individual.
I wish I had a
Is she a computer?
I don't know. May, are you a computer? Is that we're being tricked here and you're really a computer?
Or an AI of some sorts? Because this is scaring me,
Yeah, but I think Kat hit it perfectly when she said if he went to Russia, he'd have done the same thing, step in prison. Russians wouldn't have offered him anything. Like, look, you're alive and you're in prison. Be happy, and that's it. And he would have had no choice but to do it. He would have been too scared to sabotage it. In America, I'm sure he was watched. I'm quite sure he was watched. I know we didn't trust him fully. There's no way in hell we couldn't trust him. They kept an eye on him for a little bit. But he had more free reign. And then as he started doing more stuff, they trusted him. He got more freedoms. He had to earn it. But eventually, obviously, he did earn it because, he was involved with NASA. He was involved with the CIA. I mean, man, he was just, he's done a lot.
He's done a lot of good things, especially with what he's done.
Well, some good things, some bad things. Depending on how you look at his involvement in MK Ultra as a good thing, I think a lot of people would disagree with him on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, Von Braun, I actually have a high respect for his knowledge and what he has contributed to North America anyway. Not so much anywhere else, but he came a long way.
Well, he helped. Don't get me wrong, he did help, but he also did some of the dirty shit he was doing for Germany here.
Yeah.
Sanctioned by the U.S. government. So,
Well, let's just hope we never have a World War II again. No World War III. I don't want.
Well, we won't have a World War II again. That's for sure. We have World War III.
World War II meaning World War III. I just hope we never have that. We ever get to that point. Ever.
Man,
I can't remember
worried about that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Doug.
I can't remember who said it, but I think the best quote I ever heard is, "I don't know what World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones."
Oh, you're probably absolutely right on that one. That's a good quote. That's a good quote. But would that necessarily be a bad thing to have to start all over? I mean, for us here today, but as a world theater in general, would it be such a bad thing to start over?
Yes, we're so technology dependent. Okay, how many
I like
people
my
do you
cell
think?
phone.
Let's go to basics. What's the basics things you need to survive? You need food and shelter and water.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
And a cell phone.
Out of 100 kids, let's say 15 kids that you know today, at the ages of 16 to 20. Who do you think could find water? Who do you think could start a fire?
None.
Without a lighter. Who do you think would know, oh, I can't drink salt water?
That's a good point.
Okay. We're talking about having to learn stuff, if we look at it like that, if we look at I'm a big video gamer, so if we look at the quintessential apocalypse and we go back to sticks and stones, we have to learn to farm with from zero. We have to learn to build from zero.
And we can't just look it up on the internet.
No. Google is gone.
I know. Yeah, that's
Okay.
how many people know how to do
Well,
that?
what are we going to do?
We're going to die.
Most of us are.
As a people, we're going to die. You will see probably, I would say, probably about a 5%
Survival rate? Yeah.
of the world population that would be able to survive.
How many people here know how to start a fire without a lighter?
I do.
I do.
Yeah, same here. I was taught when I was way back. You know how to survive. Like, you can go in the forest and live off the forest food. Nobody knows this. There's a lot of stuff you can eat in the Canadian forest.
I have the advantage of I was a medic for 22 years in the military. So,
There you go.
What branch?
Army and Army National Guard.
What? Right on.
Right on.
Army too.
So, then Kenny, we learn basic skills, but if you look at, Billy Joe Jim Bob out here trying to get a pizza from Walmart, guess what? It's 2 months after everything went to shit. Walmart's, been looted, destroyed, and any of the bagels that still left are freaking molded.
Oh,
Okay.
Good night. A lot of people.
I had a cousin, Billy Joe Jim Bob, who died in the war. Okay.
Oh.
Hey, I resemble that remark.
Okay, I'm from Tennessee, so.
No, I was quoting Porky's. Anybody remember that movie?
Oh, God.
I remember the movie, but not the quote.
That's a great movie.
Uh,
Those are good movies. Yum.
He might have been raised by the Marines, but he joined the right. Comfort dog. He might have been raised by the Marines, but he joined the right service when he joined the Army, so that works out. So
well,
he's forgiven for raised by the Marines.
To be perfectly honest, I tried to join the Marines. And I'm embarrassed to say this, I failed the test.
Oh, that's
Aw.
I couldn't fit my head in a jar.
Oh.
Okay.
Nice.
You know how you kill a bunch of Marines?
How?
Throw sand on the wall, tell them hit the beach.
Boo.
Oh, that's a good one. Sorry, Marines out there, but we're Army, so I know Jarhead's not here. If he watches this back, he's gonna have something to say about that one.
Oh yeah.
Do you think we should really teach our today's youth the basic survival skills?
Oh, they should. They absolutely should.
All right,
We don't teach today's youth basic survival skills for today. You look at schools. Okay.
Yeah.
How many kids come out of a school that know how to balance a checkbook, that know what their credit score means, or how it affects?
No. That's another argument in itself, but it's just a very basic thing. Do you remember back in the day before we had Google and Google Maps? Do you remember opening up the map book and folding map and trying to navigate your way across a country or a town? Do you remember those days?
remember Google in my time was called an encyclopedia.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
I saw a post a couple of years ago, and it was somebody posted, and I'm not kidding you, no word of a lie. They said, what did people do before Google Maps?
Rand McNally.
And
Right, and hope you don't miss the exit.
holy fuck!
Absolutely.
What? Nobody. I use Google Maps now because it's convenient, but
Right.
I also know how to, navigate my way from one end of the country to the other by using a map book. You give me a map book, I'm comfortable. Most people aren't. They wouldn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
They burn it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Students teaching those kind of skills.
I've said this. Comfort can vouch.
Yep.
That we, as a society right now, are too dependent on technology. Not just in the military, which I feel that we are way over dependent on it, but just in school. My son had issues with writing, so they let him do his homework on a computer. I'm like, that's funny because when I was in school and I had trouble with writing, they made me write more.
By hand.
Right?
Man.
That's how you fix that problem.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things we should get. Again, I don't know if I asked this before, Kenny, but all right, how many people here can put their phone down for one day and put it away and go do something else?
Well, I could. I just choose not to.
Well, you choose not to, but can you do it? Can you
yeah.
leave it, no, can you leave it on your desk and go out, go shopping, go for a walk?
I can turn it off and not trip if I really wanted to, but I don't feel a need to because I am dependent on it. I'll admit I'm dependent on my phone, but at the same time, I can turn it off if I need to. I can turn off technology. Because honestly, I can sit down and read a book all day and I'd be okay. I just read a book all day. I'd be comfortable doing that. I'd be happy. It worked for me.
Well, I actually had a thought, and I might actually do this as a challenge to everybody. Maybe I'll think about it. Maybe is if we were to say,
that's because you lose a comfort though.
Well, pick a day where everybody puts their phone down for a period of time, and then we all come back and say, "What did you do for the day?" You'd be surprised what you'd be able to observe out in the real world without your fucking phone. Like when I work. I work as a surveyor, so I have to be very, very observant on what's going on. I leave my phone in my car. If you want to call me, I'll pick up your message every couple hours. I'll check, whatever I need to, but I don't need the phone on me 24/7, And I see more without the phone in my hand or in my pocket than I do if I have it, you know what I mean? So go out there, look around, look up, you'd be surprised what you see. Squirrels and nature, or you might not get hit by a car, right?
All right. So we're kind of getting off subject here. Any other questions? Or Sean, did you want to come up and tell us about a war crime you observed since you're just here? And are there any other war crimes that, if you don't want to come up, that you would like to discuss in the chat? Maybe I'm sure Doug would know about it. He's a pretty he seems to be an encyclopedia on World War II, which is pretty awesome, actually. Thanks for joining us, man.
I enjoy it.
I've learned some stuff from him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, me too. There it is.
My IQ has actually gone up several points.
That's really that's encouraging because usually when people deal with me, they say their IQ drops. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to send
that
you a
only
link.
happened.
Yeah,
so Sean doesn't have any. Okay.
Yeah, I'm concerned, Doug. I'll have to send you a link about birds and the bees, though.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I have to see if I can talk Comfy into practical exercises.
Ooh.
When are we gonna get Comfort Doll up on here? She never comes on.
Which I find amazing, because once she starts talking to people, it's yeah.
Right.
She wants to tell us why you're in college. What's your college degree?
I'm sorry.
I'm actually in college for a bachelor's in arts and science with a Bachelor of Arts in Science of American Studies with a major in, or excuse me, what is it? Bachelor of Arts in Science with a major in American Studies and a concentration in History and Political Science.
Right on.
Nice. Right on. That's awesome.
Good for you.
It's comfortable. Come on in.
Well,
Let's go.
can I ask a question of the panel?
You just did.
Can I ask 2 questions from the panel?
That's your
That's your
second
second question there. That was your second question.
Now, when you look at like World War II, World War One, Korea, Vietnam, and even recently like Iraq, if we were in a situation where World War III was upon us, do you have faith in the young people of America to rise up and fight? Or will they go and try to find their safe spaces that they always talk about?
Ooh.
Well, I think some would rise up and fight. I really do. Because you're going to be stuck with the fight or flight, and people are going to pick fight. There are going to be people that do not want to fight, but everyone's going to reach that point where they're going to have to do one or the other. And I think as much as we try and get on this younger generation, like, oh, they're soft, they're liberals, but whatever. If you push someone too far, they're going to react. And if you hit the right buttons, they're going to react in a violent way, not just a violent way, but a way that makes them want to fight. So I think I don't think we're ever going to have this issue to where our society is going to be so soft where there's never going to be any war ever. That's just not going to happen. We're always going to have something like that.
Well, you're right, Kenny, because if you look back in history, every conflict, everybody at some point stepped up to the plate to do, fight or flight over the millennia. And it doesn't matter if it's in the last 2 big wars or 10 big wars, it's gone on forever. So, yeah, I think you're right on that one.
And that's one of the things about combat is, and I can tell you from my experience, you see people and you deal with them every day, in the military, and you're like, oh man, this guy's, ate up, he's dumber than a box of rocks. Get overseas and, bullets start flying, and all of a sudden Joe Craphead over here turns into fucking, pardon my French, sorry, turns into super soldier.
Well, and I think a theory on that would be someone who, at least when I've heard, someone who's more intelligent would have an issue with something like that because they think if they examine from 50, 60 different angles, a situation 50 different angles. In a war situation, when you're in there, where it's just you got to react in there, it's easier to only examine it from fewer angles because, you're easier to react sort of thing. So I think somebody that would be like the grunts, they're there for a reason because, they're just good at that sort of thing. They can react well. They know how to react. They have that steady hand-eye coordination. They're perfect for that type of work. And those are the type of heroes you hear about, the ones that are going in there saving 15, 20 people during a war. They're getting the Purple Hearts and the Congressional Medals of Honor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Fighters make good fodder too. That's a good one, Power Away. Predators in there. Yeah, it's covered on me too. I'm an overthinker too, which is why I didn't go in as I didn't go in any combat capacity. I went the MI route because I would have fucked up. I know I would have fucked up if I was out there in the theater of war like that.
Did you,
muscle memory.
Kenny? Can I just ask a quick question? I don't even know the answer to this, son. What did you actually? You said you were in the military, right? Or in the right now? Did you actually serve any time overseas? Did you?
You were really cutting off. You're cutting off. What did you say?
Okay, you said you served for the country. Well, did you actually serve time overseas?
No, I didn't go overseas. No.
Okay.
I stayed stateside.
All right. I was just curious. That's all. Yeah. Squirrels, watch out, right?
No, see, there it is again. It's not the squirrels, the sparrows need to watch out. I don't hurt the squirrels. It's the sparrows that are the evil ones.
Cobra chickens.
Chicken,
Mm.
but no, agreed. I forgot that squirrel line flag. I have someone that's going to make one for me, so I'll let you guys know when I get it. I think it's going to be hilarious.
Oh, that would be really cool. I like that idea. Yeah. So why is Comfort Doll not coming on?
Yeah, why is Comfort Doll not coming on?
I don't know. She don't listen to me, so.
Comfort Doll, the whole panel says you need to come on here. And Doug is championing it. He says if you don't come on, he's going to pout. There we go. He's going to pout if you don't come on. You don't want to see him pout.
And he's going to drink PBR.
Yeah, he'll start drinking PBR.
Let's not. Oh gosh, come on. Let's not go.
Well,
I'm willing to work some of this, but
Okay, well, if she doesn't come on, capture and torture squirrels.
No, because I like animals better than I do people. So.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, because most people are dumb.
May is on a roll
But
tonight.
I actually would love to have her on sometime. I mean, they didn't have to come on anytime soon, or when she feels comfortable, I'd love to have her.
She's very intelligent. She tries to
know.
play like she's not.
Oh, of course she is, man. You should see her in here. She's always coming through with the information and stuff like that. She's very intelligent. Very intelligent.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She's like a regular encyclopedia.
Why in the hell she married me? But hey, we'll take the wins as we get them.
All right, Sean. Later, man. Father lives don't matter.
Oh.
Also lives in Japan.
Hey, I noticed that some other
nice.
some other channels are using my impression that I created, frauditard. It's actually catching on.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Frauditard.
Excellent.
Because if I remember correctly, I was in one of Kate's panels on Masshole, and they kept throwing the R word around when talking about the fraud it is. So I made like a deal. I'm like, it kind of offends me. So why don't we just call them frauditards?
Yeah. Very good. Good plan.
And other channels are using it, and I'm not getting. I want my royalty checks.
You're asking too much, man. You're asking too much.
So are you gonna spend it on? Are you spending on PBR?
I don't think I'll get enough money for that. I'm just going to be screwed out, just like I'm screwed out of everything else. Oh well, that's my contribution to society.
Well, all right, guys, it's been about 2 hours. I think we're gonna call it good. Any last comments, Stuck? You have anything last minute to say?
Listen, very informative. I learned some stuff today about, this never-ending story of World War II, and hopefully we'll learn more in the future. We should do more of these kind of chats. This is good.
I see.
So thank you. I'm done.
Tim?
This was really, really informative, and actually, I hope when you repost it, you keep. Is there any way for you to keep the chat in it? Because of all the stuff that May was talking about,
I don't know what is going on with that. When I go into my settings, it says the live chat replay is on, but it never does show. So I think I'm going to I'm gonna email like the Google Creator Studio people and find out what I'm doing wrong, because I'm getting annoyed by that too.
All good.
Because May is throwing out some really good stuff.
Yeah, I know, and I'd like to see the chat too, because sometimes there's stuff I miss in the chat. So I don't know what's going on. It pisses me off though, because I want to see the chat too. I have no idea why it doesn't show.
It's 50-50. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't as well.
Okay.
So I don't know. Sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't. I'm like, it says hide chat replay or not. And if it doesn't, there's no option for it, So I don't know.
Well, I'll email and figure out what's the deal with that. Doug, any last minute things to say?
You know, thanks for having me on. I've had fun.
Yeah.
And outside of that, you know, if you're interested in this stuff, go away from the history books that you learned in school and start doing research on your own.
Yeah.
Even outside of Google, hit the library, man. You'll find stories and stuff that you just never would imagine uh, going on in this time.
Or talk to people that are still around.
Yes, absolutely. That's a very good one.
You'll get if you talk to
There aren't many. There aren't many.
Yeah, there aren't many. I don't think there's hardly any actual veterans that were in
No,
World War II that are still alive.
We have people in their 60s and 70s and stuff that were children then, but they still have stories from that time and before. So it'll give you a link to say, oh, it'll give you you'll start talking, and then you'll click something in your head. It's like, oh, maybe I should look into that or that or that. So like we need to listen more to everybody that is out there as well, verbally. So
No, they if they were kids, they'd be close to 100 by now. They'd be close to 100, even if they were kids.
70 years ago?
70 years
Well,
ago.
my mother was 86. My mother was 86, and she remembers the war.
Right. So you still
World
have
War II? Okay. There's a few.
we still have links through past, even children of children have heard stuff over the years from their parents or family sometimes. Right. So talk to people in general. You get more information than a book, really.
All right, Power Wagon, what you got?
Anyway, I'm done. I'll shut
up. Okay. I'm just going to piggyback off Doug. I'm going to say, there's some great documentaries. Like if you watch The World at War, it was a documentary series made back in the 70s. It actually has interviews with Albert Speer, Carl Dönitz, after they got out of Spandau prison. And it's just great information out there. What's that?
I said that's either on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime, because I actually have that in my list. I used to watch that show with my father when I was a kid, and it was in black and white, but they actually made
Yeah, it's an old documentary made back in the 70s. It's fantastic.
Narrated by Lawrence Olivier.
If you currently have Netflix, a show that I started watching, World War II in HD. It's on Netflix.
Ooh. That's a good one, too.
It is a very, very good program. It's like a series. It is fantastic. It's actual footage from World War II. I'm like trying to get through it, and there's just so much information. I've had to watch episodes over again because there's just so much packed into one episode. It is really fantastic. Next week's subject, let's see, what will next? How about
Korea.
we talk about next week talk about the greatest of the 20th century. How about that?
The greatest what?
No, not the greatest. The great discoveries of the 20th century.
Ooh.
Great discoveries of the 20th century. That'll be next one. So
besides me,
whatever you want to come up with, great. You say great, Tim, not drunk. Great.
I'm not.
Not now. I'm just messing with you, Tim. I'm just messing with you, bro. I'm just messing with you.
I know. I just don't want to be arrested.
Yeah, some great discoveries of the 20th century. So
all right.
Make sure you guys come up. And Dan, Douglas, I'm sorry, you are more than welcome to join if you would like.
Okay.
Comfort Doll, you can join too if you would like. I would like you to join. Maybe one week you will. Power Wagon, thanks for joining me. It was a lot of fun. It's not as long as last night's panel, but hey, it's more informative, right?
Yep,
absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
I learned so much. I am amazed.
Tim, thanks very much.
Thank you, and thank you all for all the information.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, good discoveries of the 20th century. So, well, he can teach you. Doug just figured out how to do it, so he can teach you how to come on. Comfort. You can't use that excuse when your hubby, who's probably in the same house as you right now, is on right now. You can easily just like walk over to where he's at and say hi. You can easily. See, so that's not a very good excuse.
Matching
You made me
back
very
to range of
close.
excuse, 0 meters.
Do it.
But it's okay. But thanks everyone for joining. Comfort Dog, thanks for joining in the chat. Kat, thank you. May, thanks for all your hard work doing the modding. Tim Berry, oh, you're in the chat now. Sorry.
Great
Special
job, Kenny.
watchers,
Great job.
thanks.
Excellent.
Sean, you're probably gone, but thanks. Kat, thank you. Anyone else who I missed? Thank you guys very much. I'm not sure if I'm going to come up with anything tomorrow. We'll see how it goes, but for sure you'll have something sometime next week. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. A lot of fun. Peace out.
Thank you.